again, all in this particular case on a new and upcoming tablet on top of the Android platform. And when you play with Honeycomb, you'll see the sense of beauty and power that you get with this new user interface that we have invented. I think you're really going to like it. I just absolutely love it. Google today can be understood in a different form. But back to what I was saying earlier, you can think of what we're trying to do at Google is to get you to something very fast. That we ultimately believe that speed matters, that your time matters. We want to get you back to being human and not a slave to the computer. Network delays notwithstanding today. And so, if you think about it with our search properties, we've done a lot of things. People here have played with Google Instant. All of a sudden, quick, you can sort of see previews of pages along the side. You can see it over and over again. The investments that we've made in underlying data center architecture and search architecture allows us to do this. And it's interesting at the point now where we can answer the question as you're typing them. And this saves between 2 to 5 seconds per search, according to our measurements. Well, if you assume, many, many hundreds of millions of users of Google every day, the savings in terms of hours and decades and so forth per day of human productivity, we're very proud of. Plus, it's a really neat feature. People really like it a lot. So when you think of Google, that's just an example of many, think of speed. What happens next with search is it becomes even more personal. With your permission, give us more information about yourself, you logged in and what have you, we can give you even more personally tailored answers. Next after that, let's call it autonomous search. Here I am in the streets of Barcelona. I happen to like history. As I walk along, my phone tells me the history of the beautiful architecture, Gaudi, and so forth and so on, as I walk or drive the streets. I don't have to type the search in. The search is me and my interests with a GPS on the phone. You sit there and you go, oh, that's kind of interesting. Well, that's just the beginning of a large number of new apps that can be built and use that infrastructure to make a big difference. And search is also fundamentally understanding about what you mean. When I say, what's the weather like, it really means, should I wear a raincoat? Or does it mean, do I want to water the plants? So the more I know about you, the more Google knows about you. Again, you have to decide you want to do this. And many people will choose not to do this. Those who do, all of a sudden will be able to get even more personal results. We have lots and lots of examples of this, and in fact, as part of our investment in underlying search infrastructure, we're also working to provide more structured data. We're literally working to sort of extract, to move from syntax to semantics, to understand that when you do a travel search, you're asking about pretty structured data, whether it's hotels or airlines, and they will take you to the appropriate sites that have all of the best information about that, and then you can decide what you want to do. We've already talked about mobile and the mobile platform, which is a core part of what we're doing, and mobile search is a core part of our business. In Chrome, another important part of this, the Chrome browser has been growing very, very quickly. We have more than 120 million active users, and it's up three times in the last year, and it's 6 times faster. So if you're using a traditional browser, I think you should use Chrome. More importantly, because Chrome plus various library extensions and developer additions that we're working on will provide a programming platform for this next generation of cloud-based applications that I'm talking about, that we're demoing and so forth and so on. We also have as a component, a monetization component, because I learned a long time ago, you can have really smart engineers, no money to pay them. Furthermore, the developers, as much as they love a platform and the beauty of this, they'll go where the volume is and where they can make some money. So not only do we have a strong monetization platform in our traditional AdWords business, which everybody here knows about, but we also have it, for example, on YouTube. 35 hours of video uploaded every minute. Shocking. More than 2 billion views per day. 160 million mobile views per day, more than double in the last year and accelerating. And the business is, of course, doing well. Revenue doubled in 2010. We're finally now being able to monetize professional content at rates that are approaching what we need to build significant businesses for those partners. We have a display business, which is also taking off, which shows these powerful display apps, which show up both on traditional desktops as well as mobile devices. And indeed, one of the key things about software applications for mobile is they're going to want to have an advertising component unless they're selling the apps for $1 or $2. And we want to make sure to do that. So what does this mean architecturally? At some level, there's a disruption. Many of you are part of that. You feel that disruption. And I want to be clear that we understand that this is disruptive. We don't have our heads in the sand. We understand that these are scale disruptions. They matter. They affect people's businesses and so forth. In many ways, it's part of a pattern that's existed in humanity for a long time. There's a quote from Joseph Schumpeter. Capitalism inevitably leads to a perennial gale of creative destruction. And I would argue that the internet is fundamentally replacing the economics of scarcity with the economics of ubiquity. And so in a situation where you have very low cost of distribution and essentially infinite number of high quality copies, it affects lots and lots of businesses. And I would argue that this is both terrifying and exciting. It's exciting because of the scale, right? You could reach a billion people worldwide in a month or 2 months or 6 months or what have you. Could never do that before because of the power of the internet, the pervasive nature of what all of us have built together. But it's terrifying because it all has to do with information. And information is what people care about more than anything else. And you'll see this with repressive governments. You'll see this in all sorts of ways play out over the next few years. And we'll be part of all these debates because privacy and numerous other issues. And I think the debate is very healthy, and I'm sure we'll have it in the Q&A as well. But what I will tell you is that we're listening about all of these issues because we're part of it as you are as well. So I want to finish my comments and get to your questions or comments by talking about the next decade. I'm a computer scientist. I believe very strongly in the optimism of what we can do with computers and science to make the world a better place. And I'm one of these people who believe that if you look at problems we talk about all the time, global warming, terrorism, financial transparency, these can all be aided very significantly by computer science and by the information that we can make available. But fundamentally transparency, right, the ability to sort of analyze and see what governments are doing, for example, helps the body politic become better. These are fundamentally information problems, and that's what computer science is about. So let's think about this world over the next few years, and by the way, pretty soon, within a year or two, with these phones that I'm talking about, which all of you have, and the tablets that many of you have, and with many more coming this year. Well, let me give you an example. You never forget anything, right? Computers are interesting. Computers are very good at making lists, remembering things, and keeping memories of what we do, which is precisely what we're not good at. So starting soon, again, if you choose to, it'll be possible to remember the hotels that you stayed at, where you went, the pictures that you took, the friends that you met with, so that you can refer back to that. Pretty powerful kinds of things. I just forget. Everybody forgets. Human memories are not accurate, but computer memories live forever. Another example, you're never lost. You know, when I was a boy growing up in Europe, I was always lost, right? I was lost as a teenager, lost in college, right? You have to go buy the map, I couldn't afford them, and so forth and so on. Now you're never lost. When was the last time you had a good being lost experience, right? This just does not happen. Not only do you know down now where you are down to the meter, but soon we'll be able to do it down to the centimeter because of the accuracy of these signals, right? And you have to turn your computer off to get lost, and you would never turn off your computer, right? So you'll never get lost. It's this bizarre property of all of this. And by the way, with your permission, all your friends know where you are too. So they can also find you. And what's interesting is that people who love the Earth can love it more, right? I think all of us feel strongly about how the planet, our only planet, is so important. You can learn using the tools and techniques, things like Google Earth and Maps and all the other services. Not only can you see them as static objects, but you can build platforms on top of them and navigate to them and understand how they're changing and obsess about them in the way that you should. And to understand what we're really doing to the planet and hopefully even fix it before it's too late. Pretty important. You can clearly have all the world's information at your fingertips so we can translate everything to everything else. Now, I don't know if that will prevent war, but it will certainly increase the amount of talking before war. Right? An awful lot of conflict has been fundamentally due to misunderstanding of culture. Humans are generally good and generally want the same things, and yet we don't talk to each other enough. Now we can do it, and we can understand the depth of the culture when we're sitting across the other side of the table. You know what to pay attention to right now. I don't know about you all, but there's so much coming in that the computer can help you sort out. We can help figure out what you should be spending your time on.